Is D&D too woke? Well, there's one video from this one channel that seems to think that it is too woke, but I don't know, probably isn't. So let's watch this video and react to it, and I'll give you my thoughts on what is being said in this video, and we'll see where it goes. Let's get into it then, shall we?
What?
I swear there are just some people out there who go looking to be offended by stuff. But
ah yes, the classical anti-SJW, people are just looking to get offended by things. It's like, no, I mean, you can criticize media, for example, D&D, about problems with racism, etc., like, validly. And I think this is like one thing that we need to remember is that just because you criticize a piece of media doesn't mean that no one is allowed to enjoy that media, or that you don't enjoy that media. I enjoy D&D. I enjoy playing D&D. I enjoy running D&D, but I can still criticize it. I can still say, look, for example, how it handles race is problematic, and we can and should do better. And probably D&D 5.5, looking at the changes Wizards of the Coast have been making in the latest books, like Tasha's Cauldron of Everything and Monsters of the Multiverse, is going to go in a different direction when it comes to race, in a better, less racist direction.
To get offended by D&D of all things? Are you fucking serious?
D&D has bigotry baked into its DNA?
Yeah, it kind of does. You know, essentializing certain races in D&D, like the Drow or the Duergar, goblins, whatever, as evil, as bad. Like, all of these creatures are bad. Just, they're all bad. All of them are bad because of their race. Is not great, and is a reflection of our world and how we have seen race in our history. Because we have to remember that our media, our art, is a reflection of our world. So this is a valid criticism.
What?
D&D was made.
And this type of reaction is like, to me, it screams about like a lack of media literacy, a lack of a critical thinking when it comes to the media that you consume.
By cishet white men for cishet white men. Let's not pretend that it hasn't been hostile to those who aren't.
I mean, yes, it has been made. It was made by a white guy for white guys, and Gary Gygax has some very problematic takes from the past. So yes, it has been. And the hobby itself has been very white guy centric, and sometimes hostile to people who are not that specific group. So I think that's fair to say.
Really believe this about D&D? Then why the fuck are you playing it?
Are you fucking kidding me?
So
the classic,
if you don't like it, then why are you playing it?
And it's, again, this comes from this way of thinking that if you criticize something, that means that you hate it, which is not the case. You can criticize something, and you can still enjoy the thing that you're criticizing. Also, I don't know whose Twitter that was, but if that's just a random Twitter user, then, like, why the fuck do you care? It's just one random person, unless it's like some big-time, D&D creator. But if you just found some random Twitter user, then, like, yeah, okay, whatever the fuck. Like, why do you get so worked up about it?
Oh yeah, apparently D&D is the newest victim of the woke crowd.
Yes, using the, I love it. I love it whenever there's like the anti-SJW types, and they make the content, and they use this fucking image, which is like 6 years old. The same image. Let's see how old this image is. Let's see. SJW woman meme image. Because that image is like a gorillion years old. Yeah, this one. Origin. 2016. So yes, this is 6 years old. Almost exactly 6 years old. I was not wrong. It's a 6-year-old image, and they keep using it because there hasn't been anything relevant since. This type of rhetoric is just like reheating 2016 Gamergate bullshit, literally. Like, this is Gamergate reheated. I love rap. The culture has been and still is homophobic and misogynist, but I still love it. Exactly. I want to make it better, and so do many people. Yes. Criticizing the things that you love is, if you do it in a constructive and good faith manner, is so that you can make the things that you love better. That's the point.
because there's a lot of things wrong with it and it needs to be fixed, and only they know what to fix, apparently. And one of
I don't know where he gets like the only they know how to fix. Like, no, it's you show one tweet. Like, we see one tweet saying that there's racism baked into D&D and that it is hostile to minority groups. These are the two arguments made by one person. And now he's jumping to the conclusion that these people will only accept them making changes and fixing it. Like, no, this is criticism about the media and the art, and it's valid. And those changes can be made by Wizards of the Coast, who, own the thing.
the first things that need fixed is orcs, because orcs are people too. Hashtag not all orcs. Now, if you
This is, again, what I was talking about before. The idea is that essentializing orcs as evil is lazy. It's lazy, and it reflects a racism of our own society of essentializing people based on their race. Because there can be evil orcs, but it's a lot more interesting, in my opinion, portraying orcs as another type of people with different values and a different culture. I think, for example, Critical Role does a better job at this, portraying like the Drow as a race with their own beliefs. They're not evil, they're different. The Dwendalian Empire in Critical Role is also not a paragon of virtue. They also have fucked up shit going on. And these two, like the Dwendalian Empire and the Kryn Dynasty, are at war. And at first we're led to believe that the Kryn Dynasty is the bad guy, because, the war is against them. But then once the characters go there and find out, oh, actually, the Dwendalian Empire did some fucked up shit too. And this is a complex situation. And these people here are not evil. They have a different way of life and a different culture. And that's way more interesting. It's a way more interesting way of building your world than just being, these people are evil. Of course, it's okay to have, like, demons are evil, makes sense, they're demons. But having the humanoid races portrayed as, they are ugly and evil. Yes, exactly. No racist undertones. Exactly. Like, there's racist undertones there because those are, again, our media and art is a reflection of our world.
You don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Apparently some of these folks found out that in one of the D&D
Orcs are generally, though not always, depicted as inherently evil. They're one of many bad guy races in D&D. Of course, the idea of monsters, race, or species is nothing created by D&D, but rather the notion of monsters imbued with evil by their very monster's origin is common to many folklores worldwide. Yeah, okay.
D books, it says that orcs are considered inherently evil, and that pissed him off, because apparently these folks don't understand that the rules of D&D aren't really rock solid.
The code is more...
Well, I mean, yes, I agree with that the rules of D&D are not, like, written in stone and cannot be changed. For sure, absolutely. However, they're still the guidelines, and they still set a baseline for everything. So Wizards of the Coast can set the tone, they can set the standard. So if they say they're like orcs are generally evil because of their monster's origin, then that sets the baseline that most people will go about it. Like, just because you can ignore the rules doesn't mean that the rules cannot be better. It's not a great argument to say, like, well, if the rules are bad, just ignore them. Like, no, I mean, yes, you can, but you can still criticize the rules for not being good. You can say, like, hey, this could be better. Thing could be better is not, like, a terrible thing to suggest.
You call guidelines than actual rules.
I mean, for fuck's sakes, if you want orcs to be inherently good in your campaign, and you want the humans to be inherently evil, you can...
See, that was not the argument. See, misrepresenting the argument. The argument isn't to flip it on its head. The argument isn't that humans should be inherently evil and orcs should be inherently good. That's not the point. The point is that no humanoid player race should be inherently evil because of their race, because that is a reflection of our racist history in our world. That's the point. It's to add more nuance, more interesting depth to the world. Doesn't matter that the rules aren't solid if they're still racist. Yeah, not all laws are applied strictly or as intended or at all. Doesn't mean the laws aren't racist. Yeah, exactly.
You can do that. No one will care. And that's because
orcs aren't fucking real.
Yeah, but this is the case again. Like, they are a reflection of our world. If you look at where the orcs came from, from like J.R.R. Tolkien and the inspiration for orcs, they have a direct link to our world. And usually, if you look at the visuals from orcs, for example, he's using Warcraft here. If we look at the visuals for Warcraft, for example, like where do the orcs, for example, architecture or clothing take reference from, you can see that there's a direct link to our world. And therefore, if we make these people are bad, there's direct link to our world, which is not good. And if you want, see, here's also the thing, the it's just a game argument is not a good argument in my opinion, because if you want this hobby, this game to be taken seriously, if you want people to think like, yeah, this is a serious thing that people enjoy and should be regarded as a real thing, then you have to invite criticism. You have to invite critical thinking. You have to invite media criticism, art criticism into it, because that's what happens to art and media. They get criticized, they get analyzed, and that's what makes them better. No one cares. That's why I made this video about one tweet.
You've just set sail on the SS Imagination.
They're make-believe. They don't exist. So, you can imagine how I felt when I found out that the reason why they were saying this for was because they think orcs are like black people.
Am I dead yet?
Throughout the 50-year history of D&D,
Yeah, you can definitely find a connection to like I said, looking at, for example, Warcraft, looking at the clothing and the architecture and stuff when it comes to orcs, there is a connection to black people. And especially if you look at the trolls from World of Warcraft, they have a very strong connection to African people. So it's very clear. Fun fact, Notch made Minecraft villagers greedy and gave them big noses to jab at Jewish people. Nice. Not surprised. Races are make-believe and don't exist, but that doesn't stop racism being real. Exactly. They might be make-believe, but again, our media and art reflect our world. They don't exist in a vacuum. They don't come out of nowhere. This is not to say that necessarily the author's intent is to make something racist. Like, I don't think Wizards of the Coast was like,
I'm going to make this racist.
like that probably wasn't the point, right? Wizards of the Coast didn't intend to make it racist. But seeing as where we have come with like social justice and talking about race, etc., we can now analyze this like, oh yeah, there's probably not like, there's probably an issue here. And you know, D&D 5th edition came out in, 2014, if I recall? So this was before the big social justice push and movement that we've had in the last about 10 years or so. So this analysis didn't exist at the same level back in 2014 and before it. So now this is way more prevalent. We're way more used to analyzing media from this angle and with this lens. So now them saying like, oh, okay, we noticed that this isn't as good and we should change it. No, it makes sense. It totally makes sense.
some of the peoples in the game, orcs and drow being two of the prime examples, have been characterized as monstrous and evil, using descriptions that are painfully reminiscent of how real-world ethnic groups have been and continue to be denigrated. That's not right. And it's not something we believe in. Are you fucking kidding me?
No, I mean, it's true. The type of language that we use for the monstrous evil races like orcs and drow is reminiscent of how we've talked about, for example, black people in our culture. Yes, that's true. And again, like, this isn't written like, oh my god, this is terrible, ah! Or the tweet wasn't like, no one is allowed to play D&D, you know? This is the thing, like, this is criticism. This is Wizards themselves saying like, hey, we want to do better. The company that makes the product are like, we want to do better, so we're going to change things. What's the problem?
You think black people are like orcs? How is that not a racist opinion?
Looks like me.
Yeah, oh my god. No, the point isn't that black people equal orcs. No, it's to say that the type of language used for orcs or drow is language that has been used, for example, against black people in the past. This is what no media literacy and no analytical lens does to a person. Like, it's just glaringly, just like a glaring lack. Yeah, you bringing up racism, that's actually the real racism.
Back on the menu, boys!
But hold up, that's not the only thing they
it's
think.
better?
They also believe
Who's they? Okay, TSR again. Everyone's welcome at our gaming table. We will not tolerate rude, hateful, or disrespectful people or bots. Fair. You'll be banned, blocked, and ignored. We ask our fans to do the same. Stop fueling the lies and start focusing on the future. We do appreciate your support. Yes? Yes? What's the problem? Hey, Byron, welcome. We're watching a Is D&D 2 Woke video, and I'm responding to it saying no, it's not. I think having standards and setting boundaries at your tables is very important so that people feel welcome and safe and appreciated. I think that's very important. And myself, if someone is stepping over those boundaries, I will at first probably say like, hey, that's not okay, depending on, of course, how badly they overstep. And then if they keep doing it, I will say, please leave the table, because I don't want this at my table. If you're okay with it, hey, fine, but this is what I want at my table. I want people to feel safe and welcome at the table. That's it.
that saying all are welcome at our gaming table is a negative thing to say.
Hmm?
You can't.
They weren't trolling. They were asking. So hold on, I need to go back because what was he saying in his tweet? Come on. There we go. I don't know how to turn everyone is welcome at our gaming table into not everyone is welcome. So this is the classic you claim to be tolerant, yet you do not tolerate Nazis argument. Just because you are tolerant doesn't mean you have to tolerate hate. This is a classic thing in political discourse. Just because you are tolerant, you do not have to tolerate intolerance. This is a very classical thing. I'm not going to tolerate Nazis. I'm not going to tolerate racists. I will try to educate them. I will try to tell them, they're wrong. But at the end, I won't tolerate that type of behavior. That will not be accepted. I do not need to accept that. So this argument of like, well, if you don't welcome Nazis at your table, then you're not really tolerant it's not a good argument. It's not a solid argument.
Is a negative thing to say.
Yeah, they weren't trolling. They were trying to ask them to voice support for trans people specifically. Oh, okay, so this was in relation to trans people who are, need more support here because, trans people are minority group and they get a lot of shit, which is not good. Trying to all lives matter the issue is the dodge of the question. Exactly, yeah. You're saying like, well, what about non-trans people? And it's like, listen, like cis people, I should have said cis people are not the receivers of bigotry because of them being cis. Like, white people do not get systemic racism thrown at them because they're white in the West, that is. That's the point.
You can't make this shit up, folks.
What? What the fuck?
Apparently to these people, if you don't say specifically that trans people are welcome, for example, then they aren't welcome because...
Well, the thing is that the assumption is that if someone doesn't specifically say that trans people specifically are welcome, then there is a danger that there is going to be transphobia at the table. Speaking from, tabletop role-playing games specifically. There is a danger there because that's the norm. The norm is our society by default is transphobic. This doesn't mean that trans people are hunted down on the streets, but this means that people are grown up with transphobic ideas. That's the norm. That's the starting position. Therefore, it is important for trans people to know specifically that, they are welcome, that these people have taken into consideration that trans people are specifically targeted by bigotry. And they have taken steps to make sure that trans people do not get targeted by bigotry at this table. in D&D, there can be established prejudices towards others within different races, i.e. dwarves don't like elves, or if there have been instances, wars, is bringing those prejudices to the table through your character with the intention of having those prejudices be broken during the campaign. Okay, that's a very good question, Laura. Super good question. I think bringing those types of topics can be okay within your table. However, I would check with your table. So make sure that everyone at your table is okay, because that type of stuff is a reflection of racism from our world or prejudice from our world, you know? So for me, for example, would love to go into like exploring that, you know, this prejudice that is born out of a war, for example, that used to be between these nations, which is a totally understandable prejudice to exist in the world. And it still exists in our world for nations that used to, like France and, you know, France and the UK, they used to be at war for hundreds of years. That has not been the case for a long time. There is still prejudice, you know? Exploring that idea can be super interesting, but everyone at your table needs to be comfortable with it. Not everyone will be, and that's okay. So what I usually do when I start a campaign is that I have a session 0, and in that session 0, I discuss what are called lines and veils. Lines being things that you're okay with, lines being things that you definitely do not want to see in the campaign, because stuff like that, for example, for someone might be super triggering and might cause them to be incredibly uncomfortable, which is totally understandable. And then veils, which are like, these can be referenced, but people don't want to be directly in contact with these things. So I would discuss it at your table and see are others comfortable with it once you're starting to play the game, because that can be a totally okay thing to explore. You know, it can be a very interesting thing to explore, but everyone needs to be okay with it, in my opinion. I'd also say it depends on how you do it. Like, does your Darv just mistrust elves and he's slow to take them as friends, or do they say a fake slur every second sentence and murder all the elves? Yeah, there's also that. But yeah, lines and veils are very good. I'd say more in the lines of mistrusting in the Gimli sense. Okay, throwing slurs is just poor gameplay. Yeah. And I think that it's still good to bring it up as like, hey, I want to explore this avenue of like, my character has mistrust for this particular nation, but then he's going to learn to trust, and just to make sure that everyone's okay. Because if one of your players, for example, is like, you mistrust elves, and you have an elf player or a half-elf player, and your character is going to be like not nice to them at first. So discussing that with your table and being like, hey, this is what I would like to do, is everyone okay with it, is important. Because at the end of the day, you want everyone at your table to have a good time and have fun, you know? And different people are okay with different things. It's always better to discuss those things before you play, because if you step over those lines during play and you didn't discuss them, it's going to be a very messy situation. So you're going to avoid a lot of pain, a lot of hurt feelings, and a lot of frustration by talking about these things beforehand. Okay, let's go back to the video. But that was a very good question. Thank you, Laura. Very good question.
When you say everyone, it doesn't mean everyone.
Yeah, everyone means, you know, minorities are welcome as well, and that they can feel safe. That doesn't mean Nazis need to be there. I'm using Nazis as a hyperbole here, to make a point. It doesn't mean only Nazis, it means bigots, etc.
But it gets even better when you also realize that these are the same folks who think that by saying everyone is welcome, what you're really saying is that you want to play with Nazis and rape.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. So if you said everyone is free to play at my table, that's kids of like saying I let white supremacists play next to my Jewish players. I let bigots play. Yeah. My trans players, that doesn't make a fun or safe place for folks at risk and turns a blind eye to back. Yeah, exactly. It's like if you don't specifically mention like, you know, minorities are welcome here. If you're just like, oh, everyone, you know, I don't see color, I don't see gender, race, yada, la, 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 then you miss a lot of stuff. You miss a lot of stuff because like you might let in bad actors because you don't specifically make sure that these minorities are safe and protected, you know? It's the very classic, you know, what about you know, white lives. You say you claim to be about, you know, protecting people, but you yeah, everyone means an assumed audience. Assumed does not always include everyone. Yes.
Pists. And that's not cool. Like,
Yeah.
What the fuck?
What? No.
How do you...
Yeah, like this also betrays the point that, you know, people have had uncomfortable situations at tables or like and in real life where there has been a dangerous person to their presence among, you know, at a party or, you know, at a table or in their space, and then you're like, oh, how do I navigate this situation now? Because the person who I thought would make this place a safe space for me didn't. So what do I do now? And it's a very uncomfortable situation to be in. It's not fun when you're like, oh, now I need to fucking figure this shit out, and it can lead to more danger towards you if you're trans or woman or whatever. Like that can lead to more danger towards you. Whereas if that person would have taken that into account already to begin with, then you don't need to worry about that stuff because the person who is organizing it has already made sure that this shouldn't happen. And yeah, like you're saying, Byron, it feels like there's a lot of privilege here. From like, it sounds like there's a lot of privilege of not having to deal with this type of stuff. It sounds like. I don't know this person, so.
Even respond to something as ridiculous as that? Oh, I know. That's fucking stupid. Just
It's not stupid. It makes complete sense.
like it's fucking stupid for the...
But I thought gatekeeping was bad. No. Gatekeeping, Nazis, and racists is good. That's a good thing. Gatekeeping, those people, great. Keep them out of the hobby. I don't want them. I don't want them. I do not want them. Listen, thanks to Oxygen Thieves getting validated by Ernie Gygax, shit's gonna get loud in the scene for a while. Close ranks, shield up, and don't give an inch. Absolutely.
The same people to complain about gatekeeping while gatekeep.
Haha! You complain about gatekeeping, yet you do not let Nazis into the group. I am very smart.
Yeah, no. This is the same thing. Just because you are tolerant doesn't mean you need to be tolerant of intolerance. People who cannot respect minorities, people of color, people of different genders, you know, if they can't do that, then they can get out. Of course, due to the fact that we are brought up in our world, you know, in a transphobic and racist manner, etc., we're going to make mistakes. That's going to happen. And I think that there should be an opportunity for people to learn from their mistakes and grow. Of course, I understand that not everyone will have the energy for that, and that place might not be always at the table. Some people can feel very hurt by someone stepping on someone else's toes accidentally. You know, that's going to happen. There needs to be room for these people to grow and learn, absolutely. But if people make these mistakes and then they show that they don't care and they do not want to grow, then that's it. That's a line. That's the line. That's like, nope, sorry, this is not going to work. And you know, sometimes if you step on someone's toes in this manner and you say something very bigoted or you act very bigotedly, that might end up, you know, ending the game. That might be like, okay, you unfortunately will not be able to continue in this group. And it happens, you know? Yeah, deliberately misrepresenting how gatekeeping works versus how a healthy society functions is infuriating. Yes. It's like, yeah, well, everyone just needs to be accepted, even Nazis and terrible people. Like, no. They need to, like, we don't need to accept Nazis. We need to give Nazis an opportunity to, you know, not be Nazis, of course, but if they do Nazi shit, then
You can't make this shit up.
D&D may never have been a perfect diamond, but he's right about one thing. We will not give it back to those who work so gleefully to oppress, objectify, and exclude. This is ours now. We make it better with every story we tell together. Squat up, shield fucking wall.
Am I dead yet?
By Sigma!
I hate these fucking memes. These are so cringe.
You've posted cringe. Prepare to be judged.
No offense, but Dungeons and Dragons isn't just for nerds anymore. It's for everyone.
Yeah, Dungeons & Dragons has gotten, like, hugely popular. So much so that we're getting a movie with Chris Pine in it and Hugh Grant. Like, Dungeons & Dragons and tabletop role-playing games have grown tremendously. Tremendously. And it is a lot of just, like, normies, so to speak. The Sigmar one is a good meme, but bad context, exactly, yeah. If your religious or political belief causes you to disrespect who I am fundamentally as a person, that religious or political belief does not deserve my respect. Exactly, yeah, absolutely. But, yeah, like, D&D is so much bigger now than just, like, the dudes, the nerds in the cellar, you know? And we have to make, because of that, it has to be welcoming to all kinds of people. Not Nazis, though.
Everybody and anybody.
This is ours now.
It's for everybody and anybody.
Again, this misrepresentation that everybody means every single type of person, be they bigoted or not, is like, no, it's not for bigots. It's for everybody to feel safe in and for all types of people, but not bigots.
These things is not like the other. One of these things.
I wish this person would make more arguments than the same thing. He's just making the same argument over and over again.
Things just doesn't belong.
This comic basically sums this all up.
Oh my god, he posted this dude's comic. Oh god, this dude. Oh. This dude's comics. I love this dude's comics because they're so bad. I forget what his name is, but yeah, they're bad.
Can I play?
Sure.
This game is too difficult. Can we change it?
See, that's not what people are doing. See, this is not what people are doing. People, like, it's not like the gays are coming to Dungeon Dragon and be like, I'm sweaty. This game is too difficult. Can we make it dumber? That's not what's happening. People are saying, hey, there's some like problematic things here, like portraying all races as evil. Can we change that? This will have no effect mechanically. This change of making drow and orcs less racist, less evil altogether, mechanically, no difference. None. None. Like, this is a misrepresentation of what is happening.
No, we've been playing
A straw man, if you will.
it this way for years.
Why are you excluding me?
What the fuck?
You are not being inclusive.
Yeah, it's not what's happening.
Let's play a game with simpler rules, which everyone can enjoy.
Again, it's not what's happening.
I don't wanna.
It's not like queer people are coming in and saying, okay, we're not playing D&D anymore, we're playing Honey Heist. That's not what's happening! Queer people are not coming in and saying, fuck this D&D bullshit, here's Honey Heist, we're playing Honey Heist now. And people are like, no, we don't want to play Honey Heist. You're oppressing me. That's not what's happening! Yeah, this has literally never happened.
Then you don't have to join us.
The party encounters a gang of violent orcs, demanding we hand over all our money.
Oh my god! Aren't you offended by this?
Not happening.
Well, I'm offended on your behalf. Orcs are people too!
No, they're not. Their race is literal.
See, that's actually problematic. Him saying, like, no, orcs are not people is kind of problematic. And it's like, it speaks to the one, like, big problem within D&D is that, you know, violence is the solution to everything, where you have to dehumanize your enemies, which is like, again, doesn't mean you can't enjoy D&D, doesn't mean D&D can't be fun, but there is an aspect of dehumanization of your enemies so that you can just kill them and move on, you know? Like, and this is kind of part of that. So this point, actually, what this person here, here is saying, is actually part of the problem. But otherwise, yeah, none of this happened.
Literally orc.
Well, as a fan of the game, I'm calling for removal of the term race.
Yeah, I mean, the term race could be, like, it should be changed. Like we discussed in the earlier stream and in my Discord, there's a bunch of other terms that would suit it better because it comes from our world and it has problematic connotations in history.
You didn't even know this game existed until 5 minutes ago.
If you don't like the rules, go play something else.
Oh, the irony!
What irony? Yeah. Didn't happen. This is not what's happening. It's a misrepresentation.
It's too much!
Great. Oh no, why Naughty Dog sucks. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. When was this video made? I forgot. Where can I see the date? Date? Why won't you show me the date? Yeah, you can cut this part, by the way, out, Loki, when you're editing, because I just want to quickly check out when the video was made. Is it a really old video? It's not even that old. It's just 1 year. It's just a 1 year old video. So it's not even that old. Like, why can't I see the date here? Usually you see the date, but it's not here. Why? YouTube doesn't show dates sometimes now? Thanks. So that was a video that exists in the world. One of the most videos ever made. As we can see, the arguments were weak. The arguments were constructing a straw man, misrepresenting what gatekeeping is, misrepresenting what is happening in the community, trying to portray, you know, basically using the all lives matter argument. Not a good argument. This hobby has grown tremendously, and there are now more minorities in this field than before, and it is important that people feel safe and welcome at different tables. Because of that, some extra work needs to be done, and we need to make sure that people feel safe. And that doesn't mean accepting bigots, racists, sexists, transphobes, Nazis, etc. It's as simple as that. And hey, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe buttons down there. That would help. And please do let me know what you thought about this video here. Yeah, that's it for this one. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you around. Bye-bye.